Gentlemen, it's Mr. Hill, just here with Pygame tutorial 3, and I'm just going to build up, just to recover, review where we left off last time. So last time, we were playing around with the X and Y coordinates, and we were also moving things in the X direction and the Y direction across the screen. And if we click on Run, we'll see kind of where we left off. Okay, we see that we have our text, and we are moving it from there because we started at this position, 100 and 400. I'm going to set it back to 0, 0. So we're in a regular starting position. But notice one of the things that happens is that text disappears. Now, in some cases that might be what you want. But in other cases, when we're dealing with games, and we're dealing with different objects like images and characters and text, we want to be able to keep these things on the screen when we're playing. Okay, if they disappear, then it makes it confusing for the user to be able to continue playing. Now, one of the ways that we can do that is by playing with the boundaries. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start by defining a couple of things. So, we have hello world text here. Okay, I'm going to make this window a little bit wider so we can kind of see what it looks like on one line. Okay, hello world text, and I'm actually going to define a variable called hello world size. Okay, and I'm going to set that equal to hello world, so that's the text, hello world text, dot get size. Okay, get underscore size, and that's a function that returns the size of hello world. Now, what this means is it gives you a value in the X direction and a value in the Y direction. Okay, and you'll see this kind of comes up in a couple different ways, but the value in the X direction is at the array position 0, and the value in the Y direction is at array position 1. Okay, so let's look at how we can use this a little bit. Now, what we're also going to do is, and I'm going to start to chunk these things because as you start to add, different objects or texts or images, you have to create these variables for each thing that you add. So every time I add text, I want to have a size variable, and I also want to have a set of X and Y coordinates to match those values. So I'm actually gonna start kind of getting in the habit of developing a naming convention here. So let's say we'll call this X underscore hello world. Hello world text. And I know that's annoying, but and it's long, but as we start to add more things, it'll make our lives a lot easier. So we have our hello world text, our hello world size, our hello world text in the X and Y direction. So, okay, we'll use this naming convention, the snake case with the underscore. Okay, now what I also want to do is actually, before we get too far ahead, I'm just going to update my X and Y. So I said X underscore hello world text, Y underscore Y hello world text. Okay, just so that, and then here as well, underscore hello world text, underscore hello world text. So all the X's and Y's have been updated to match our naming convention. Okay. And so this will get a lot cleaner as we continue to add more elements. Okay, now what we want to do here is we want to add a direction. So we have we'll do X direction, and we're going to add our hello world text. Okay, and I'm going to set that equal to 1. And I want to also add Y direction, Y underscore direction, okay? and I'm going to add our hello world text and set that equal to 1 as well. Okay, so if I want to be able to move in different directions, I have to define my direction. So 1 is positive. So if you bring it here, you bring it over to the screen here, moving to the right would be positive in the x direction, and then moving down would be positive in the y. Now, if I want to move in the opposite direction, well, then I would have to set that x to a negative value to be moving to the left, or a negative value to be moving up for y. Remember, it's backwards for y. Okay, so we'll get that clear, and the next thing that we need to do is when we're dealing with our value for x and y, okay, what I want to do here is I'm going to multiply, right? So we have our 5, and I'm gonna multiply it by, right, our x direction. Okay, so right now, because x is positive, right? X is positive, then hello world is going to be moving to positive to the right, and I'm going to do the same for y. Okay, we have our y direction for hello world text. Okay, so now both x and y are moving according to this positive direction. Now, what I want to do here is that because I've defined the size in both directions, I'm going to set some conditions here. So if x plus our x coordinate, right? Remember, we're updating our x coordinate, so x underscore hello world text, not x direction, x hello world text, right? Plus, we want our hello world size. Hello world size. Ooh, let me fix this here. Hello world size. Hello world size. Okay, and because it's actually a couple different directions, or there's a couple different values here, we have to reference, right, the x portion, which is the first position in the list. Okay, and if that's greater than 800, then we want to change the direction. Okay, so we're going to set the direction. Got a colon here. I'm going to set the direction x direction hello world equals, so I could do a multiplication sign equals -1. Okay, and so what that do is it's gonna make it go in the opposite direction. So let's play with this a little bit. Let's test her out. So I'm gonna bring this over. I'm gonna run it. Okay, and so right now, okay, we got our x disappearing. So I'm gonna comment the y portion out for now. Okay, let's run it again. Okay, so that's hitting one side. Okay, great, it's coming back, and then boom, oh, it's disappearing again. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that if it's less than 0, right, or if this whole condition here, same condition, right, if that's less than 0, actually I don't want to, I'm going to do one thing here. If it's not actually plus, it's just the x position for the second portion, right? Because the x position references the front of where the text is. Okay, so if that position, right, is less than 0, then we also want to multiply by our negative number. Okay, so you'll see that this is what that looks like. If the x position plus the size is greater than 800, right, that'll factor in the size of the text. Or if our x position for hello world is less than 0, then we're changing directions, and we do that by multiplying by -1. Okay, so let's play and then we'll run it. Okay, so we got a boom, and we got a bounce there, and we got a bounce there, and that's looking nice and clean. Okay, so let's add the y. Okay, so what did we do here? I'm going to stop this for a sec. Okay, so for y, right, we're updating our y, and we want to have a similar condition for y. So I'm going to copy this, and that's one of the nice things about developing a good naming convention, is that once you start copying and pasting, Control V, right, the directions become a lot easier to manipulate some of the statements. So remember that we're dealing with our y direction, and now the y direction, the measurement is actually contained in the second portion of the list, which is at position 1, and y is actually greater than 600, or our y for hello world text is less than 0. That's okay. Then we want to update our y value. Okay, now this should help it move. Okay, and we want these separate because if x is I don't want to update x if it doesn't need to be. Okay, and it'll show you how this works out. So let's run this, and we start to see, well, this is that DVD game, or that I think it's the DVD image that kind of bounces around, and every time it hits the corner. Okay, you're supposed to cheer. So there's a sense of how you can start moving some of these objects, right, and keep them within the boundaries. Okay, and so if you want to move things different or move things quicker, we can play around with the speed by changing the value that x is moving at one time. Remember that we can also play around with the starting position. Okay, we set our starting position of this piece of text at 0, 0, but you can play around with that too. Okay, so there's a good introduction on how to, you're moving text, and now we're introducing some complexity and creating conditions so that we keep our elements within the screen. Okay, I hope that helps, and I hope you're having fun doing this, because it's only going to get better. Okay, stay tuned, bud. Stay tuned, guys. We'll talk to you later.